With over half of the year gone, have you been to the doctor? Have you been to the dentist? Have you had your eyes checked? What exactly is your situation when it comes to your health? Or do you have like insurance that you got through your job? Do you have insurance through Marketplace or no insurance at all? If you are any one of those people or you fall in any of those categories, this episode is for you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. And I thank you if you've been with me since January of 2023. And if you just started being with me, I thank you as well. And if you've been here, you know that Embracing the Fight is all about getting it out. It's all about talking about the things that you're going through, the joys, the trials, the triumphs, everything that you're dealing with in life. Because every day is a fight. Whether you fight to get up or whether you fight to stay awake, it's still a fight. And you just have to learn to embrace the fight because as long as you live, as long as you open your eyes, you have another day. You have 1,440 minutes every day to do something different, to change or to affect your life. It's all about your mindset. It's all about what you decide to do in order to make that difference. All right. So embrace the fight. All right. So if you would like to be a guest on Embracing the Fight, I would love to have you. Just you can comment below or you can send me an email to operations@diversitydesign.com, or you can reach out to me on social media everywhere like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, X. Now, the only difference is on Instagram is embracing the fight underscore. So please click like, comment, share, subscribe to Embracing the Fight because this message is something positive. We need more positive things going out into the world. So the next time you think about sharing a clip of somebody fighting or somebody getting shot, share Embracing the Fight. It's so much more wholesome, so much better. All right, so let's talk about it. Like I said, over half the year is gone. Do you know your numbers? Do you know what your biometric screening says about, your health in general? Now, let's talk about those folks that have insurance through, their job or they're self-employed and they have, insurance that they've created for others. Well, you know that most insurance allows you to do one free biometric screening, during the year. And some companies require that you do it as well because they want to know, really if you're going to drop dead on the floor or, they want to know if you're going to be a liability to them when it comes to having to pay, bills. Think about it. Sure, HIPAA laws protect whatever it is that you're dealing with, but as soon as you start to, do FMLA or you take, time off work, then the company, they have access, to the information because you have to fill out some documents to, get that leave approved, especially, if it's something major. So if you have health insurance, what you should do is make sure that you are getting all the free screenings and everything that you can get because an ounce of prevention, is what everyone knows will keep you from being sick. It's worth more than medicine. Think about it. If somebody tells you that you have high blood pressure and you haven't started seeing the effects of it and you start exercising, you start eating right, and you notice that you start feeling better and your blood pressure comes down, that's only known if you take the time to go to the doctor and see, what your blood pressure is, what your other numbers are concerning, like your cholesterol, your kidney function, liver function, all that. All those things come together because your body isn't like split up into single things. Your body works as a entire system. So imagine, let me give you an example. Like lately, I had some issues with my blood pressure. So initially I thought, oh, I need to go and I need to see a cardiologist. So after I saw a cardiologist, he was saying you need to see a primary care, doctor, because there are so many other things that go into the heart function and the way your blood pressure reacts. it has something to do with all of your systems and not just your heart. And I was sitting there going with her, if my heart is pumping harder, then that's why, my blood pressure is high and there's something that's causing my heart to pump harder. But doctors practice medicine. So they have to look like, someone who's investigating a crime. They have to look at all the pieces before they determine who actually, committed the crime. So I had to go see a primary care physician. The primary care physician, he took down everything that I had going on. And initially, he was like, okay, we need to look at your thyroid function. And the numbers that they gave, previously that he looked at, he was like, you know what, that's not the number that really helps you. It's not what really will tell you if you have an issue or not with your thyroid. He said, sure, your TSH and I think it's your T3 free and thyroglobulin, that points at, cancer. He was like, but I'm looking at all of your scans, your whole body scan, and I don't see anything, at all. So the cancer has not metastasized. It's not, anywhere in your body that I can see. And he was like, but I see where, your doctor told you to take an extra dose of, the levothyroxine in the middle of the week. He was like, well, rather than doing that, if she just spread it out, over a given amount of time, one of those days, your heart is going to take off because your heart rate is going to be extremely high because of this medication, because it's not a normal dose that it would see. So then I was like, well, darn, maybe it's the thyroid medication. He was like, but I can't say that 100%. He said there are other things that I need to look at as well. So, they did a full panel um, to determine, what's going on, with my blood, because he looked at all the other numbers. He's like, everything looks good. He's like, this is very odd to me. And then he was listening to my heart and he was like, your heart sounds strong, carotid arteries sound strong and clear, your lungs are clear. He was like, I don't know. He was like, we just really need to look at the numbers. So my question to you is, when's the last time you've been to the doctor to know, what's really going on in your body? Now, something that's extremely important that we should all consider, especially women, when you get to your mid and upper 40s, 50s, 60s, as you're going through menopause, your body is changing. And a lot of women, I mean, I was surprised to know that about 35% of women have heart issues that are related, to the changes that come with menopause. And I was wondering because I've had family members to die, like in their late 40s, and they didn't exhibit any, major issues that I knew of. And the only thing I could think of was like, well, darn, maybe they had the same kind of thing, that I'm experiencing, but they didn't find any alarm for it because they never went to the doctor to see what their numbers were. Don't be that person. Don't sit there and look at yourself and say, you know what, my heart is racing. Oh, well, my heart's racing because I was watching football. Or my heart was racing because my baby about to fall down the stairs. Something like that. No, if your heart is racing, it's racing from some condition that your body has. I'm not saying that it's a condition that, is fatal, but it's a condition that you need to know something about before it becomes fatal. So if you have that good insurance, make sure that you are going to the doctor on a regular basis. Make sure that you have a primary care physician, because one of the questions that they ask if you go to a specialist is, who is your primary care physician? Because what they want to do then is get that piece of the puzzle from your primary care physician. So imagine if you don't have one. So what does this person have that's looking at you, that's trying to figure out what's going on? What do they have to look back at? You have no medical history there. Sure, you could tell them the last time, you had surgery, or the last time you had a certain type of medication, but they can't tell you why you had the surgery or why you had, that medication change. It's all in the doctor's notes. It's all very important information that needs to follow you wherever you go. So please, please, please get a primary care physician. And ladies, get a gynecologist. A lot of women, "Oh, I don't need a gynecologist. I passed, having a baby. I'm past that age." So what? You still have the equipment for it. And even if you don't, you still need a gynecologist because there are certain tests that can still be done if, say, your uterus has been removed, but you still have ovary and a fallopian tube. There's still, things that deal with your reproductive system that need to be taken care of. For instance, you still need a mammogram. And then if you say have had a double mastectomy, you still need someone to check that area to make sure that, if it was breast cancer, if it was some other reason that you had to have your breast removed, you still need someone to care for you in that area, someone who knows, a woman's body. And just like, with men, you need to see a urologist. I mean, there's so many particular doctors that you need to see for certain things that, if you have good insurance, please go ahead and do it. Because what's the point of having insurance, not using it to find out that you're sick and there's nothing they could do because you waited too long? All right, so now let's talk to those people that have that high insurance. Because at one point, I was getting my insurance from Marketplace because it just made sense. Self-employed, I wasn't making more than the threshold that they look at when you're trying to do insurance through Marketplace, and it was low. But then I'm not sure exactly what changed, but it tripled. And I was like, oh no, I can't do this. I have to find, some private insurance. I can't, do this anymore because that's extremely high for someone, that is building a business, or someone who does not have a job, or someone who is in a transitional period. That is not, what you want to do. Now, prior to this administration, it was what you wanted to do because I had the opportunity, to have it, to see that it was inexpensive. It was extremely inexpensive. It was less than $200 a month. And that was with pre-existing conditions. So I can imagine someone who has no pre-existing conditions that it probably was maybe $30, $40, $50 a month. And now if you have pre-existing conditions, it is so high. And all I can say is, you got to do the best what you can. But there is a silver lining. So there's a such thing as an HRSA. That is the Health Resources Services Administration. So that is a group within the government that, well, they're an agency that's a part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And what their mission is to improve access, to healthcare for people who are underinsured, medically underserved, geographically isolated, or otherwise vulnerable, people who are unhoused, or the elderly that don't necessarily qualify for Medicare or Medicaid. And I'm not sure, what would keep a person that's elderly from not being able to apply, but I know there's always some instance where there's a person that can't have Medicare or Medicaid. And what the HRSA does is they give out grants. And for instance, in Macon, there is a clinic or a practice called First Choice Primary Care. It has a pharmacy, it has a lab, it has doctors, nurses, and it's all income based. So that grant allows people without health care to get the proper care that they need. Now, what they really try to do there is they find out everything they can about you. They try to connect all the dots concerning you, and then they try to get you to a place to where you can go to a primary doctor, or you can go, to a specialist without having to pay an arm and a leg. Because if you're going there 9 times out of 10, you don't have the money, you don't have the resources. Which, in this day and age is quite understandable when you look around and you see, how the economy is, and you see how many different programs and things are just, going away. I'll give you an example. You look at the government and how they cut so many jobs, and then they start talking about DEI programs. All these DEI programs had people. Those people had jobs. Those people had health insurance. And some of them have been doing that for, 20 plus years. And with them doing that 20 plus years and all of a sudden nothing, imagine if they were extremely ill and they've exhausted, their savings, their 401k, they've exhausted everything. And now there's nothing. There's now no health insurance or anything for them. The HRSA provides health insurance for the least of these. So, another thing I want you to think about, if you're one of these people that has to go to an HRSA funded program, there is no shame in it. I mean, you're going to the doctor, you're making sure that you're taken care of, you are paying whatever they require you to pay, and eventually you'll get on your feet. Sometimes we just have to give ourselves more grace than people on the outside looking in do. So you think about it, people might be frowned up and looking at you like, "Ooh, why you going in there? You got a nice car, you got a nice this, you got," and they have no idea the struggle that you are going through right now. All I can say is keep on pressing because a better day is coming. I can feel it for you and I can feel it for me, and I thank God for it. But back to what I was saying, when you think about these HRSAs, the grant funded, hospitals and healthcare centers and things of that nature, they are growing. And so the Rural Health Transformation Program, I think they gave Georgia around $218 million to advance, healthcare. So I imagine that in rural Georgia, we'll start seeing some of these little clinics popping up, and if not clinics, telehealth, because people need health care. I mean, you could be the healthiest person in the world and never go to the doctor and then die from something that was genetic that, maybe they could have found something to help you with, but you never know because you never went to the doctor. And to all the people that, are herbalists and you like to try, all these different, natural medicines, that's great. Do that as well. But just make sure that you're finding out, what your test results are to know, what you should be doing or adjusting to make yourself feel better and be better because no one stays young forever. And you might have made your concoction of roots and seeds and berries and nuts and all the stuff and spices and herbs, and they may not be as effective, as you get older, and you have to try something different, or you have to add something to make it more potent. Whatever it is, know your numbers. So when you go in to get a biometric screening, you can't just ask for something like blanket. It has to be specific. So you want to ask for, your cholesterol, triglycerides. You want to ask for the electrolytes in your system. You want to know what your red and white blood cell counts are. You want to know what your vitamins, what the vitamin levels are in case you have a vitamin B or a vitamin D, deficiency. And then you want to know like if you are say a lady and you want to have a baby, then you start looking at your estrogen, your estradiol levels, your FSH levels. You want to look at all those different things. And then if you're having like issues with your blood pressure, then you need to make sure that they're checking your blood pressure. Then you need to check your kidney function, your liver function. You want to understand, all the different things that go into that. You can't just say, I want to test my liver function. You need to know, the terms that go along with it. Because think about it, I bet you can tell me at least two or three Netflix series, all the main characters and the plot like it's nothing. You should be the same way about your health. You should know your health way better than any doctor or anyone that you've ever been to or been around because your health is your responsibility. So you have to know it better than anyone else. So take the time to sit down and say, okay, for um, my heart, if I have troponin or high troponin levels, then that means, I could be having a heart attack. Or, I'm looking at this bilirubin and it looks really weird. And if it does, then that means my liver is doing some strange things. Or there's something that's causing my gallbladder to make this bilirubin high. Like, there are certain things that you need to know and look at when it comes to your health. And especially if you're a caregiver and you have someone, that can't speak for themselves, can't advocate for themselves, make sure that they are getting the necessary tests as well. And in that case, too, if they are going to an HRSA funded clinic, make sure that you're able to share all of their information as well for wherever they've been, because it's very important that the information follows them, because this helps to avoid malpractice, misdiagnosis, and over medicating or over treating for something that isn't necessarily the issue that's causing it, but the only reason they're able to point at it is because they're going off of what's right in front of them and not the history of everything that's going forward with this person. So my main reason for coming on today is just making sure that that over half of the year is gone. And it's time to go ahead and, get your tests, get your checks, get everything done that you can get done, and continue to try to eat better, live better. Walk 30 minutes a day. Do something different with your health. And another thing that you have to think about at the end of the year, you have those HSA dollars that you need to spend. You should spend those. Don't just, HSA dollars you can roll overs, but FSA dollars you have to spend them, by the end of the year, buying toothpaste and different stuff like that that is FSA eligible. But stuff that's HSA eligible, I mean not eligible, but HSA you can roll over to the next year, or you can also invest. You can invest that money. That way you can make money to take that money to work with your health, or to go to pay for a doctor, pay for a surgery, pay for something that is coming up that's medically necessary. And also at the end of the year, if you've met your deductible, a lot of things start to be free. And it's like, okay, you don't want to wait to the end of the year. You want to keep going, to do the stuff that you need to get done. But sometimes at the end of the year, it's like, okay, you call and you say, okay, I need to get set up for a particular surgery, and they tell you, when you ask, well, what is going to be the amount that I had to pay based off my insurance? They go in and look and they come back and say, oh, you won't have to pay anything because you met your deductible. It's like, oh, okay, well, if that's the case, then go ahead and schedule the surgery for that year, and then find out what other things that you need to do and get those scheduled. That way you don't have to pay as much, because you get more bang for your buck when you do the necessary things at the beginning of the year, because as you approach the end of the year, things start to be free. Sometimes your medicine's free. I mean, free in the sense that, of course, you paid, your deductible, premiums, all that stuff. You paid that stuff. But what I'm saying is, once you've met that deductible, then the services following that are either, heavily reduced or free. And I'm saying you should wait to get the more pricey things at the end of the year, so more of it's covered, for you. You have to be smart about these things in this economy, and you have to be smart about this thing. Well, that is if you can wait. Now, if it's something that's dire that you need done right away, please go ahead and do it. And, do the rest of the stuff that you need for the rest of the year and get that stuff out of the way for free. All right. So please take some time today and make a map or a schedule of the things that you need done this year. Do you need a mammogram? Do you need a pap smear or a full well woman exam? Do you need a colonoscopy? What do you need? And if you don't know what you need, then, take some time to try to figure it out. Or you can also purchase my book. It's called Health Unlock, a guide to knowing your medical history, at www.diversitydesigned.com. Now, they won't be available until August 1st, and it's a PDF form. You'll be able to print, a copy of it, fill out the journal, and keep it with you. And if you want to purchase a hardbound copy of it, then I'll have it available for you either through Amazon or Stan Store. I haven't decided which one, but I want to make sure that by August 1st, you'll be able to go on my website, www.diversitydesign.com, to purchase the book and purchase the journal, and you'll be able to download. All right. So I want you to be healthy. I want you to be present, and I want you to put your health first. All right. So thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to watch this episode of Embracing the Fight. And as always, I want you all to have an absolutely amazing day.